Okay, so this first bit I'm going to explain is very important. I know you're very tempted to skip ahead because you want to go straight to the technique, ignore the concept, but I'm asking you to bear with me. It'll only take a couple minutes, maybe even less, but it could save you hours in the long run, maybe even days, nights. So in Harry Potter, there's that one rule called, I actually don't remember what it was called, but essentially the rule was you can't make food appear out of nowhere, and you can't make things disappear. The food has to come from somewhere, and when you make something disappear, it's not disappearing, it's going somewhere. That is essentially how Maya normalizes weights. The weights have to go somewhere, or they have to come from somewhere. So in this example, I've got this cylinder with two joints bound to that skin cluster. Everything right now is set to a max influence of 1 on joint 1. And if I were to take things away with the value of 0 from joint 1, it has to go somewhere. And in this case, it's going to joint 2. And so say if I were to lock joint 2 and go straight to joint 1 and I were to flood it to 0, it has nowhere to go, so it's breaking. And this is how Maya normalizes weights. Okay. Alright, so here's how I deal with how Maya normalizes weights. This trick is called, or this method is called the inside out method, where you work from the inside and work your way outwards down the chain. This way you're carefully managing where Maya will shoot the weights to. So let's get started. I'm just going to skin this guy. You'll want to make sure you're working with an interactive in your skin cluster, your normalized weights attribute. Make sure you're working with an interactive. Okay, open up your paint weights tool. And I want to start with the pelvis and the spine because that's the base. That's the base of this character. So I'm flooding everything to the spine. I'm going to lock inverse selection so everything's locked. Going to unlock that spine. And what I'll do next is I'll just click drag everywhere I feel that the spine should affect. Open up my paints tool again and flood replace that to a value of 1. So now the spine joint controls everything in the upper body and the pelvis controls the lower body. I guess I could smooth that out. Smooth. Yeah, looking pretty good. I can smooth it out a bit more. Okay. So we'll want to go down the chain from here on out. So from the pelvis, I'll go to the leg. Wow. I had that pre-selected. So lock off the spine because when I paint away from the pelvis, I don't want it shooting to the spine. That would be weird. Unlock my leg joint and flood that to a value of 1. I've got this going. But we can smooth that out a bit as well. And it's only going to be smoothing between these two joints as well because everything else is locked. Okay. So next up on the list is the knee. So I can now lock my pelvis joint, unlock my knee joint, and let's not even do a selection highlight. We can just paint from here. Just getting really blocky. And there you have it with my knee. Okay, select that edge, grow the selection a bit, change that selection to vertices, and flood smooth. So there's painting the leg for you. That was like a minute. For the clavicles, or I mean for the spine, I actually like to hold off on painting these guys until I get the clavicle and the neck done, because depending on how many spines you have, it can get really tricky if you're trying to paint the clavicle. And say you want a little bit of pull down here, but the vertices on this guy are being affected by this joint, then you're going to have to be splitting between 3 joints from this clavicle and this spine and this spine. And I think that gets pretty messy really quickly. So I like to get the clavicle blocked out first and the neck before I start distributing between the spines. So let's do that. I'm just gonna grab the arm, lock everything, unlock the spine, and then unlock my clavicle, and flood replace to a value of 1. I want more traps too, so I'm just gonna paint that on and smooth a bit. Cool. Let's say I wanted a bit more down here. I mean, could you imagine trying to smooth this part out nicely while trying to keep these these spine guys distributed nicely as well? It's not a very pleasant thought. I don't like this moving, so I'm gonna take that away from the clavicle. Flood replace to a value of 0. And let's say I'm pretty happy with this. So I'll move on to the neck. Grow selection, change to vertices. Just select everything on the head. Okay, I want to lock my clavicle because I'm done there. And oops. Now I'm going to unlock my neck joint and flood replace that to a value of 1. So now I got my neck going in nicely. It could be a little smoother. Just gonna flood smooth. Nice. Very cool. Okay, so now that I got my clavicle blocked out and my neck, I'll go into my spine. Or I'll finish up the rest of my spine. Lock inverse selection. Unlock spine B. Which is this guy, which isn't affecting anything yet. So I'm gonna click drag what I think spine B should influence. Flood replace that to 1, and now spine B has taken this part away from spine A. And let's just smooth that. Smooth, 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 smooth. Smooth, 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 smooth. Nice. Okay, same thing for spine C. I'm sure you guys get it at this point, but I'm just going to run through the character real quick. Lock spine A, unlock spine C. Flood to 1, but I don't have everything selected, so what I'll have to do is paint it off, or I could just select it and flood, but I'll just paint at this point. I'm already here. I don't care about this part because I can just mirror it. Anyway, so spine C now holds the weights to the rib area, and I can just smooth that out. Grow selection. Whoops. Smooth. Smooth, 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 smooth. Smooth, 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 smooth. You can get some pretty nice deformations with this method. Like if I were to select these 3 guys and just bend them all, it gets gives us some pretty good shapes. Anyway, let's continue. Spine D. Lock spine B, unlock spine D. Paint off everything from spine D up. Which gets shot to spine D, and we can just smooth. Now spine D has influences. Cool. So now my spine's all set. Nice. Did I get the head done? No, I didn't. Next up, head. Alright, so selecting the vertices that I think the head joint should influence. I think that's everything. Going into my paint tool, locking everything, unlocking the neck and the head, because that's where I want to paint between. Going to flood replace my neck to 0, which should shoot everything to head, and it did. Now when I rotate this guy, it's very clean. I can just smooth this out as well. Grow selection, smooth a bit more. Nice. Very nice. Okay, the only thing that's left is the arm. I don't really have finger joint. Oh, and these I don't really have finger joints because this was just a quick demonstration, and my joint positions are really bad. This is really embarrassing. I didn't really look into top view, but this is a weight painting demonstration tutorial, not a joint placement tutorial. Maybe that'll come in the future. But after seeing this, you might not want to watch what I have to say about that. Anyway, back to the arm. Back to the arm and we're done. Clavicle, unlocking the clavicle, unlocking my arm A. Flooding to 0. Now arm A holds all the weights, holds all the marbles for that part of the geometry. And I can just smooth it out. That's animatable enough. Shrink that selection down to where my elbow is. Lock the clavicle because we're done with that. Unlock L arm B and flood replace value of 1. And what do you know? Elbow's done after a bit of smoothing. So there you have it. I have roughly and quickly painted the weights off of this character, minus the hand and the feet, of course. I can mirror, and this is how I paint weights. Thank you for watching, and goodbye! Sorry, just pausing a bit before I close. Alright, see ya!